I'm sure most of them are like it.
All right.
Okay, guys, we are on episode 3 of season 2 of the Freddy Beach podcast, and today is going to be an extra great day because we have with us Krista Ross, the CEO of the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce. We got all kinds of amazing stuff today. We have a big birthday.
Woo!
we have a big award to talk about. We have all of the Chamber of Commerces across Canada came to Fredericton and got to experience the beauty and amazingness of this place. So we got some stuff on that. We got to talk taxes because why wouldn't we do that? And then we got a few other things for you. So without further ado.
So first off, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
It is.
Awesome.
This is going to be fun,
Yeah.
honestly. So first things first. Love you to introduce yourself. Maybe tell us a little bit about who you are. The fact that you have a birthday tomorrow, so write "Happy Birthday, Krista" on the comments if you could.
Yeah, and how does one become the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, so I'll let you go.
Is an interesting question that I think some people would like to know.
Sure. Okay.
And it's a bit of a journey, right? You've been a business owner, all this stuff, right?
Yep.
I'd love that.
So I'm Krista Ross. I'm CEO of the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce. I've lived in Fredericton most of my life. I did spend a couple of years in Moncton. I went far away to Moncton.
Sounds like a forgivable offense.
I live on the north side. North side, strong side. And I have a daughter whose name is Rachel, and she's almost 12.
Amazing.
Yeah, and so how did I get in this position? When I finished school, I worked for a couple of years as a marketing director for downtown Moncton, and then I had the opportunity to come back to Fredericton as general manager of the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, nice.
So I did that job for 8 years, and then I owned my own business for 14 years.
So tell us about that. What is own your own business?
Sure. Well, my partner and I had a quick copy printing franchise,
nice.
Which still operates and is here in the city of Fredericton and is a chamber member. Awesome.
Classic. That's good.
So I was a partner in that business for 14 years, and then in 2011 decided I wanted to do something different. And right at that time, the opportunity arose that the CEO position at the Chamber of Commerce became available, and I just thought this is perfect. It's magic. It's
now,
the job that I love.
How did you even know about that? Was it because you were a chamber member and they put that out?
Well, actually, how I knew about it, I was out with some friends one evening, and the person who was in the CEO role was Susan Holt. And Susan said to me, "Krista, you should apply for the job at the Chamber." And I didn't know what she was talking about because they were actually trying to fill a mat leave right at that time, and I thought she was suggesting that I should do that. And I said, well, that's not really, where I want to go right now to do a 1-year mat leave. And she said, I gave my notice today. You should apply for my job.
Oh, nice.
And the next day, I'm not kidding, my phone started ringing off the hook. I started getting emails from chamber members who remembered me from previously and said, Krista, the job's available at the chamber. You've got to come back. You've got to apply. And then I applied for the position, and they put me through lots of interviews.
Of course.
And I was lucky enough to land the position, which is a job that I love. I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about helping business people and supporting them in their journey. And even when I had quick copy, I really felt like it was almost like when I worked at the chamber. I felt like I was helping people. I felt like people would come in and be looking for some printed product, and they would say, well, I need this. But then I would ask them a lot of questions, say, I'm not really sure that's what you need. I think you need this, and I would help them.
This is what you think you need.
And it made me feel good.
There's all this great stuff you're not tracking.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I've been at the Chamber now since 2011, and I just feel really blessed. I have a great team of people that I work with.
Yes, you do.
There's 9 of us, and we're a close, cohesive team. We work hard. We do great things, I think, for the business community, but we also have a lot of fun. We have a great time working together. It's a great place to work.
So what is your day-to-day like? What does being the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce?
Can I jump in just to break it up for you so you can
Sure.
have it, get some water and all this? I'll tell you, when I first joined the chamber, because I want to tell this to, if there's somebody who's listening and is should I join the Chamber of Commerce, right? I didn't really understand what a chamber of commerce was at first, like a lot of people who aren't already a card-carrying member. So I went down and just kind of like walked in and was like, hey, like, what is a chamber of commerce?
Very Jeff thing to do.
Yeah, true. And Christine was like, let me tell you, right?
Yeah.
And we talked, and she explained everything to me, and you know, the benefits and stuff, but really more about the community aspect and everything, and invited me to. She was like, why don't you come to this chamber event we're having, you know, and then you can see, like, you think it's something you'd be interested in. After that, I was like, oh, I'll just pay now. Like, surely, right? Like, I was very convinced, right? I was like, no problem. So, and it was funny because when I went to this networking event, Emily and I went together, and it kind of struck me that I'd like never networked in my life before. So I was like there, and I was all like, what is a network? You know?
How do you do it? Like,
it's sort of
just
like,
go up and say, hi, I'm Phil.
Yeah, it's sort of like one of those like real problems you realize when it's like, you're like, oh, sweet, I wish I wasn't in a room full of people like not knowing what networking is, right? Yeah. And everyone was super friendly. Yeah. The first person who engaged me and was like, you're obviously new here, blah, blah, was Steve Hill, my now lawyer, right? So that obviously worked out great. Yeah. And you guys as a staff really, did a good job of making sure that we felt really welcome and comfortable, and I see doing that with future people and that. And now the monthly business after hours is, it's one of my favorite things. Yeah. Right. It actually sucks that we don't have them in the summertime because everyone's gone. I'm still here. Yeah. You know, I still want to do business after hours. It's amazing. Yeah. So, anyways, and I've just found. Obviously, culminating when you guys put us on the cover of Insight, that was amazing. But
I remember that too.
Yeah, I was at two separate what they call entrepreneur boot camps, and it's funny the idea of joining and both were with people from all over the country, and both like the idea of joining the Chamber of Commerce, like that was like a question, like is that something you should do? And someone's like, yes, you should do it for the following reasons. And I'm like, you need to join your Chamber of Commerce, right? Like there's so many benefits from the community aspect. They can't be defined in a feature list.
That's correct. Right?
But you're going to want that community when you don't know that you want that community, right? And business can be such a solo sport. And to have that community around you and local people all willing to help you just because you show up to the socials every month is it's been very powerful for us, I'll say. Right? I mean,
well, it's the question is, what is your network worth, right? Like that's it. So if you help expand my network, Jeff met his lawyer, that's valuable, obviously, long term.
I think a lot of people, they wonder what the benefit would be, and they try to count in dollars and cents exactly what the benefit will be. But the benefit is more than just, certainly we have that. We have tangible benefits, things like MasterCard and Visa discounts, and we have a health plan for small businesses. We have all those things.
If you do any shipping, there's some great stuff.
Yeah, we have a UPS
which a lot of businesses do
discount.
Shipping, of course, right? It's
but in addition to that, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's really about the network that you make, the connections that you make, the people that you can do business with. Networking at events are, aside from our shared benefits, networking events. But I think one of the biggest reasons, too, is also the advocacy work that we do.
Oh, totally.
Our chamber, we have nearly 1,000 members, so we're the largest chamber in the province.
Hey,
second largest in Atlantic Canada. We're second only to Halifax.
Really? I did not know that, actually.
And I think it's because we have a very strong voice at all three levels of government. And that's what chambers are for. And a lot of people, when they say, why should I join the chamber? Because we're out there speaking on your behalf. When there are issues that impact business, whether they be tax issues or WorkSafe or any kind of regulatory changes that are going to hurt or affect businesses, it's hard for small businesses to stand up and say, I have a problem with this, because people don't want to be seen as, causing a problem. They don't want to rock the boat because they're concerned that it might impact their sales, let's say.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you're a two-person business, like versus the government, like that's a fly easily crushed.
Not only that, two-person business, you are running your business.
I was going to say that there's also the one of my favorite things, I've heard it a few times, but you were the first person to say it, it's like, when you're an entrepreneur, it's amazing because you only have to work half the day.
Yeah.
And you get to choose which 12 hours. And I lost it when you said that to me. I was dying because when you said you only have to work half the day, you totally baited me in. I was like,
doing it wrong.
the 4-hour work week does exist. And you're like, you get to choose which 12 hours. I was like, oh yeah, totally.
Tricked me.
Yeah, now I can relate. Yeah. And exactly, it's like, you're busy running your business.
So
you don't have time to watch the news, let alone figure out what you're going to do about it on a national level.
Absolutely.
So
just to make sure, so I do want to. There's a goal I have where a lot of people, because we're going to get into the tax stuff here shortly, and a lot of people are like, who do I listen to? Who do I trust? Right? Because all the accountants are screaming, all the the bigger corporations are quiet. So there is something that I really want to get at, which is you're super qualified. You're very good at your job, but I'd really like if you could maybe help me just expand upon what your day-to-day activities are, and then we'll go into your big awards so that people know what you're.
Yeah, I'm talking about all that awesome stuff. Then we'll go into the real.
Because I really want people to understand that you're an expert on this, and I think that that's important for people to get quality advice.
So in terms of day-to-day work of the Chamber, we run about 50 events a year, so a lot of our time is spent organizing these events. We have a full-time event manager.
Yeah.
A lot of our time is spent doing advocacy work on the types of things that you're talking about, tax changes, WorkSafe, these types of things. We have a full-time person doing policy and research. We also have Christine, who you mentioned, who is our membership person. She looks after organizing our tangible benefits, our marketing, that sort of thing. We also have Wendy, who's in operations and communications. We have 3 people that work on our immigration projects.
It's a big deal.
We have 3 different programs to help newcomers, and we could have a whole show on that another day.
100%.
So I won't get into that too much.
Totally, but we will another day because actually I don't know as much about that as.
But I feel like we're a team, and I'm the coach.
Right.
So my role is to mentor and guide people in the jobs that they do, and also to understand and implement the vision and the direction of the board of directors. So we have a board of directors of 21 people who meet on a monthly basis, and we're guided by a strategic plan to basically make sure that we are staying on top of the issues and the concerns of the business community. These people all represent different sectors, different types of businesses, different size of businesses, different age ranges, male, female. We have a really good mix of people around that table. And in addition to the board, we have, I believe it's 11 committees, government affairs committees, policy committees. We also have event and network committees and new member committees and all those types of things. Communication committee. Yeah. So we have all these groups that are all working towards the greater good, and these people are giving up their time to work for the greater good of the business community, because if one succeeds, then we can all succeed. Yeah, it's
It's a very maritime approach, too.
Well, and our vision is to have community prosperity through business, because if business succeeds, then our community can succeed. So that's really our vision, our overall idea, because it isn't just about having successful businesses. They create communities where there's a vibrant place where people want to live, where people want to raise a family. Yeah. That's what our community's about.
It definitely is the centerpiece, that virtuous circle.
Yeah.
If you can really get it going.
Yeah.
And I will say I'm on the new member welcome committee.
Oh, nice.
It is probably the easiest committee to be on and requires least qualifications.
Work your way up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a fun committee.
Yeah, you gotta.
It's a networking committee.
It's an amazing committee. Yeah,
it's cool.
You donate a bit of time and you start off as a swab, and maybe one day
you'll
be amazed.
Where did you get that shirt?
Yeah, exactly.
Great question.
Well, I mean,
business cards out of the sleeves.
But that's the beauty of volunteering for an organization like the Chamber, too.
Right.
Whether it's the networking committee or a government affairs committee, not only are you helping your community and helping your business community, you're enhancing your own experience as well. People that come on, maybe it's a young lawyer or a young accountant who hasn't done a lot of volunteer work. They come on a government affairs committee and they learn about issues that are relevant to the business community as a whole. And they are working with a group of people who maybe have more experience with them. And what a great opportunity to be mentored by people who have a lot of experience and are willing to share it.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And there's some diversity there too, right? Because
Absolutely.
in your whatever your profession or whatever it is, you tend to hang out with people doing that same thing as well, right? But in the business community, does have its own set of diversity, right? which you kind of tap into more at the chamber than when you're in your
Yeah,
lane,
if you're in your
doing
own professional
thing. Yeah.
association,
Nothing wrong
then
with that, but
that's great, but that fulfills a different niche, right?
Yeah.
So I think that
sometimes the creativity sparked with the diversity,
the variety,
right?
yeah,
the variety,
absolutely.
yeah, exactly.
So I need to tell you, when Phil and I first met was when he was first developing his business, and he came in to visit me, and we sat down and talked about how he might be able to develop his business.
Yeah.
And we talked about, I gave him leads. I sent emails introducing him to Paul Simmons, to Bruce McCormick, to Rivers Corbett, 3 people who I think are probably still involved in your work life.
I do business with. We're in Robert Simmons' building, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these are
I met
people,
him through the chamber as well.
and that's how the chamber connects people,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, totally.
That's how it happens.
Totally.
And then your former colleague now sits on our chamber board, right? And chairs the startup task force, which I participate in. So it's all connected, and that's how people form a network, right?
Absolutely.
So I need to tell you something really cool about
do it.
about networking. We recently signed an agreement with the New Brunswick Student Association.
Okay.
So one of the challenges that students have is that they have also very little experience in networking, and they are up on the hill going to UNB or STU or community college, or maybe they're at one of the other private colleges in town.
Right.
And they don't meet business people. So they finish school, or they get to a point where they're going to do like a work term or a co-op, and they don't know anybody.
Absolutely.
So we've signed an agreement with the New Brunswick Student Alliance where all of the members can come to any of our networking events as a member of NBSA. It's kind of unique.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever done this sort of thing. I think it's going to have twofold benefit. First of all, it's hard to find top talent.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's hard for students to find positions. If we can marry the two, if we can bring them to a networking event and a business person gets a chance to see that person, meet them, maybe get to know them a little bit, then how much easier is it now when I'm going to be hiring someone and I don't know you and I don't know you, but this person I've met them at the Chamber of Commerce. You're all equally qualified. Guess who I'm going to pick?
Yeah.
Right?
And that's how it happens, just a little bit.
Absolutely. We just yesterday had a networking event with students and employers called Choose Fredericton, where
We sent Cody, actually.
well, there you go. So it was a great event, and it was all about
Where was that?
networking. It was actually at the Curry Center, and it was supported, Ignite Fredericton Opportunities NB and the department DPedal, plus ourselves. So we had tons of business people there. We had tons of students there. They had different color name tags, and then people like me are called connectors. I had a yellow name tag.
Cool.
So I would find business people and find students and connect them. So I was walking up to students and saying, so, what do you want to do when you finish school? And they'd be like, well, I kind of like to do this. And I'd be like, really? Because this person over here is looking to hire someone like that. Come on over. I'll introduce you. And they were beside themselves.
That's awesome.
It was
That's
awesome.
so cool.
And the business people were like, hey, are there any mechanical engineers here? We need a mechanical engineer. It was awesome.
That's awesome.
Good for you.
Yeah,
That's
it was
amazing.
really fun.
Almost like a buffet of talent, like walking in.
You know what? And people have a hard time finding people, right? We are...
Ask her about her birthday.
We already talked about What are you doing for your birthday?
Oh, tomorrow's my birthday.
Amazing.
And
We're getting good. We're working on it.
and I'm celebrating. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Congratulations.
Quite
What
exciting.
are the cupcakes going to be like?
Okay, so maybe I ordered some cupcakes from Caribbean Flavas,
Yeah.
also a chamber member,
Nasty Naz.
and they're going to have my picture on them.
That's so good.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that's
so
kind of
good.
fun. Yeah.
Well, happy birthday, Krista.
Thanks.
Do you want to introduce?
I do. I do want to bring
please
this up.
Do some justice
So
to it.
I went to, and I think that we can kind of do I went to this huge meeting where they said, this is like 3-in-1. I went to this huge meeting. We'll get into the details of it. A lot of really cool federal people there. All the chambers were there. But you won a huge award. Now, and correct me if I'm wrong in saying this, but I want to do it justice because I know you won't. But you won Chamber Person of the Year all across Canada from every single Chamber of Commerce, including, the bigger ones such as Halifax, and you won. Am I correct in saying that?
So I was chosen as Chamber of Commerce Executive of the Year, and it was for chambers between the size of 500 and 1,000 members. So I was pretty excited, and I was...
Seriously.
Well
Thank
We
done.
get a round for
Absolutely
everybody.
well done. Everyone, a round of applause. That's perfect.
shocked and humbled, but I have to say, any award like that, and you know it, it's all about the team.
The whole team. Yeah, totally.
I can't do my job unless they're doing their job, and we work as a team. So
you had no idea, right?
No.
I walked in and Morgan was sitting there telling people, "Don't tell anyone, but Krista won." And I just was laughing.
It was very shocking. They started to describe the person who won, and about 3 comments in, I thought, that's me.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And I stood up at the podium and I started by saying, I just want to thank my team. They're all here. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And as I was looking around the room and saying, my team, and they're all here, I realized my mom was in the room, and I teared up and I said, oh, my mom is here.
That's awesome.
And it was a really amazing moment. It was very awesome.
Well, I'm glad you're recognized for all the hard work you do. That's
well,
awesome.
you know what? The people that do my job, they're all like across the country, rock stars. They're people who are passionate about their communities, who are passionate about helping business. They're all sort of type A go-go personalities, and it's just what a great group to be part of. And actually, maybe I'll segue into why we were together.
So why were all of the Chamber of Commerce in one room?
So every year we have a national conference, and it's actually 2 conferences. We start with Chamber of Commerce Executives of Canada, so people like myself and people on my team get together to learn about best practices, to learn from each other. We had a lot of workshops. We had, media relations and event management and all kinds of things that are what we do.
Stuff as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we really have a great time learning from each other. That conference takes place from sort of Thursday to Saturday, and then Saturday it swings into the actual full on Canadian Chamber of Commerce annual conference.
Cool.
So that conference is not just the staff people, which is people like me and my team who were all there. That conference is actually the business leaders from across the country, from coast to coast. And the exciting thing is, of course, that conference was here in Fredericton this year. First time ever.
How were you able to land that? Because I know that it's not like those don't just happen.
No, they don't. I thought they did. I thought, oh my goodness.
Until you became the CEO of the Chamber of
I thought, I'm just going to raise my hand and say, we'll take a turn.
Yeah, totally.
So when I said, we'll take a turn, they said, great, here's the bid package.
Yeah.
And it was a stiff competition.
Yeah.
We had great help from our friends at the City of Fredericton Tourism Department, from Meetings Matter, from the Convention Center, from the hotels. We had a big group of people that got involved in our bid committee. It was chaired by Karen Grant, who owns a local marketing company, Kears Marketing. So she chaired our committee, and we put together a really good bid, and 2 years ago we found out that we got the bid. Wow. So then we had 2 years to plan our event.
A lot of time too, eh? Like,
lots of time to plan it, and
I don't mean that. I mean like it's like
it was awesome.
It's a long project to get it here.
This.
You have to plan 3 years out essentially.
So we were pretty excited because, as I said, it's never been held in Fredericton. So it was a big honor to have all those people here. Yeah,
obviously, I'm a big Chamber supporter, and I had that on my calendar.
Yes, thank you.
But I am right, and of course I was away.
Yeah.
And that was pretty upsetting actually, because I was like, I know they're not gonna it's gonna be back here for a while, and it's like right here, literally across from my store. Yeah. So perfect. And we missed the entire Harvest Jazz and Blues and that conference. It was a massive hit. Imagine I was eating
all I can tell you is it was an awesome 2 weeks. The weather was perfect, and
probably everyone was like, "Thank God Jeff's not here. It's making it so much even better."
Just a little salt to those wounds.
Yeah, the delegates were in love with Fredericton. They absolutely.
And I was watching on Facebook too. Like it was like, you were like, and like. We're all asking Bill Morneau questions. I'm like, the politicians are down here too? Like, this is insane.
Yeah,
like,
so
everyone was in Fredericton except for me.
Why'd Bill Morneau show up? Why did he have to come talk to us small business owners?
It was kind of actually something that was unexpected. We did not know.
But that wasn't part of the
Not
chamber.
Originally, no. It was.
But not
but it wasn't in the original plan. And they reached out to the minister to say, this is an opportunity. We are going to have business leaders and chamber leaders from across the country, one of the most vocal groups who have been...
who is they? Like Chamber Canada? Reached out to them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
To invite him to come and speak to the delegates. So he decided to come, and so we found out, I guess, on Monday.
Yeah.
I found out on Monday. the rest of the world found out around Wednesday that he was going to be speaking Saturday. And so it was an add-on to the conference. We had the opportunity for very few seats because the delegates were basically, I mean, the conference was full.
Right.
So we were invited to bring in about 40 of our chamber members.
Yeah.
And so we reached out to those who had been vocal, active, interested, concerned, and involved in this issue, and we invited them to come. And so they were able to sit in on the presentation. So here's what happened.
Yeah, please.
So Minister Morneau presented to the business community. And at the end of his presentation, the CEO of the Canadian Chamber, who is the Honourable Perrin Beatty, who is a past Minister of Revenue actually he had several ministerial portfolios with the federal government in the past. Also headed up the CME, Canada Post. I mean, he's just a wonderfully accomplished business leader, and he's our chamber CEO. So he's like a chamber rock star.
Yeah.
It's impressive too to get through all those positions without anything bad to say.
Yeah. And to be considered to be I believe a neutral business leader.
Right. I felt that when I watched him speak.
Yeah, very much so. So he was very gracious, and he moderated questions. So we had an app that you could get on your phone, and people would submit questions, and then everybody was able to either give them a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or what have you.
The ones vote on the questions?
The ones that had the most thumbs up went to the top of the list.
That is cool.
It was cool. Very cool. It was very cool. And then,
you know when that guy asked that question, you're like, you're wasting a question.
Yeah.
You idiot. That's amazing.
Well, and we
got rid of that.
We talked about, do you have a microphone in the room? But sometimes when there's a microphone, people are so passionate about these issues that they end up, unfortunately, instead of asking a question, they tell a story. Those are great stories, but when there's such a limited time. So after the questions, and so maybe just to kind of give you a view, I would say at the end of the presentation, we were not in any different. I was really hopeful that the minister might say, you know what, we're gonna make some changes because we're here with the business community and we hear you. But basically he continued on to say that, we're gonna make some tweaks, but we believe this is not going to impact you. And he basically held the line of what he had been saying all along. So immediately following that, he did a scrum with the media.
Yeah.
And right after that, we did a press.
What is a scrum with the media?
A scrum would be where all the media, and there were local media and national media, basically gather in a circle around him. And,
okay, so not the press conference, but when you see the microphones all
exactly,
over.
That's a scrum. So then, following that, we had a press conference.
Yeah.
So at the press conference, we had chamber people in roles like mine, but from provincial chambers across the country.
Right.
So there were 4 of them at the table, plus Perrin Beatty and myself.
Right.
So there were 3 of us that spoke. Perrin, the gentleman who's the head of the Saskatchewan Chamber, and myself. And I was asked to speak basically on behalf of small business of Canada.
Congratulations.
So we did that, and then at the end, we did something really awesome, I think. I had lined up 5 business people who were willing to talk to the national media about how this would impact their business. And that's a big step. You guys are business owners. It's hard to be vocal because you're sometimes concerned about how it will impact your business, right?
Everything's political. Everything.
So these 5 people were introduced. I introduced them to the national media, and each of them had several interviews. And one of them actually, just towards the end of the press conference, said, I'd like to speak. And he stepped up to the front of the room, behind the mic, at a press conference, and told a story.
Really?
And that is powerful stuff.
And it's a Fredericton Chamber member?
Yeah. Can I tell you who they
did
are?
a whole press conference nationally. I think. I know the Freddie Beach podcast gets a little more reach than
so these might be some really awesome people to have on your show.
Totally, that's what I'm thinking.
So one of them was
folks.
John Clark Jr. John is a 5th generation owner of Clark Chevrolet.
Okay. Oh, amazing.
He bought his business from his dad. He bought it from his dad, and so on. And he's really concerned that he's not going to be able to sell his business to his kids.
6th.
There may not be the 6th generation if this goes through. And I want to give you an example.
That's horrible.
So let's say I own a business. I'm going to sell it for $1.5 million. You're my son and you're my neighbor.
Okay.
If I sell it to you, or if I sell it to you, there's about $500,000 difference in the taxes I'm going to pay.
Really?
So I don't want to sell it to you, son.
Yeah. Oh,
Sorry.
yeah. No.
And it's unfathomable.
Yeah.
And now there are different scenarios. That might not be the case in every scenario,
Right,
but we
totally.
certainly have seen examples from tax specialists that tell us this is the type of thing that's going to happen. It's not fair. It's punishing small business owners, and it's certainly punishing family businesses.
Yeah.
I'll tell you another story.
I do want to go through what each of the points is, because
Okay.
I know that.
Well, I'm going to give them to
keep
you.
it going.
I'm going to tell you.
I'll
I'll give them to you as examples. How's
Okay,
that?
that's great.
I
That's
think,
perfect. That's
because
perfect.
the next
bringing it to
one
life, the
is
story.
Jill Green.
Okay.
Green Imaging.
Yep.
Right.
So Jill runs a business that is in the oil and gas industry, and she chooses to run her business here in Fredericton because she's from Fredericton.
Right.
So she and Derek moved here to open their business. They were living in the States,
Yeah.
and one of her early investors were her parents. Her parents were business people in the city before they retired as well. They owned the Douglas Animal Hospital.
Oh, nice.
So they invested in her business. Now, here's what's going to happen if Jill, now that their business is making a couple of dollars, if she takes a dividend and she shares it with her shareholders, her parents, because they're her parents, have to pay the taxes at the highest rate versus the other shareholders who can claim them at their income level. Her parents are retired. They don't have an income, but because they're her parents, they're paying them at the family rate.
Interesting. And what is that one? That's under the income sprinkling?
It's a little, yes, I guess that would be under the income sprinkling. It's a very complex.
I know. Yeah.
They're
that's-
not neat little.
No,
Yeah.
there are three different areas. One has to do with leaving money in your business.
Right. And that's the
passive income.
passive income.
So actually, John Clark actually talked about that as well. He talked about the different years of recessions that his business has gone through over these many
Yeah,
years.
as they do.
And how, if they had not left money in their business, what would they have done in those difficult times? Would they have been able to pay the bills? No, you leave money in your business so that you can invest.
Well, it's
you can
reserves.
invest.
You need a war chest.
Exactly.
You don't spend every.
And maybe you want to invest in new equipment, or maybe you want to invest in new technology, or maybe it's new people, or maybe there's a hard time and you don't have very good sales and you need to have some money to fall back on. Or maybe your business partner decides to take a maternity leave and they don't get EI because they're self-employed.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to pay for that. There's so many things that business people need to keep money in their business for.
Well, it doesn't matter what, if you're like, if you're in war, I mean, you don't pack just enough bullets to kill. I mean,
Well,
you want to have a lot more.
you know,
you need reserve.
In our homes, we would never spend every penny, or we shouldn't. We should always have some money
We'd be
set
taught
aside.
other's.
We've been taught
That was
otherwise.
foolish.
Okay,
To live.
hold on. I have to stop you because this is the problem that I'm having with all the articles and things I'm reading. Is I'm just not real clear on what each one of them is. So I do want to ask you.
To define each of the
right,
silos.
just because like
Sure.
that's the problem that I like. Everyone's like,
So income sprinkling
Please, yes, thank you.
is paying people a salary, or not a salary, to paying people through dividends who are shareholders in your company.
okay, so I have to be a shareholder.
Yes.
Okay.
And the issue is that they're suggesting there will be a new reasonableness test.
Okay.
But who defines reasonableness? And accountants and lawyers are telling us that what I would pay you as my brother, my trusted brother in my business, is that the same as I would pay a stranger to do the same job? Who decides what's reasonable?
Right.
There's going to be a whole lot of litigation
Right.
determining reasonableness. And what about the other things that you contribute to the business? What about the business partner who
spouses.
actually runs around, running the errands so that the main partner of the business can run the business? What's the value of that? What's reasonable? To me, that person is equally important. Their contribution is equally important. And actually, I'm going to jump to another one of my
Yeah,
examples.
please do. Just let me define what they are first.
Lindsay Bowman.
I was so going to bring that up.
Yeah,
too. She did an amazing job of that.
She was one of the people that was on our panel of 5 as well. So Lindsay is a lawyer who works downtown, but she and her husband own Bowman's Farm and Save, also a chamber member. By the way, all the
naturally.
examples that I use are chamber members.
Yeah, because they're all smart people. So
There you go. They only started their business in January of this year. And one of the concerns Lindsay has is how these changes look at things, or whether they look at things through a gender lens. because oftentimes that partner who is not as day-to-day involved in the business but provides equivalent value is the female.
Well, Emily and I could very much relate to Lindsay's
absolutely
written post.
And she's done some great posting, and we were really pleased that Lindsay was willing to go and speak to that on behalf of the business community.
Just to be clear too, just a shout out to Lindsay. She works at MBIF, runs a pharmacy, and does my tax. This is the same Lindsay Bowman?
No.
You're thinking of something totally different.
The first two.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. She is a lawyer, and she works at MBIF.
That's amazing.
That's her day job.
Awesome.
But she works, on her noon hours delivering prescriptions, and on the weekend being a clerk.
Right,
I've been in their store buying things on the weekend, and there's Lindsay ringing it up. So that's awesome. That's what a family business is. That's how we run family businesses.
Right.
Totally. And, if we brought Em in, she'd do an amazing job of. But one of the things, too, is, if, like, say, in a lot of businesses, the male is like the front guy or the guy who's in the day-to-day. Well, if he wasn't a business owner, he would probably take a little bit more of the load at home, whether it's taking care of the kids or taking care of the house, right? But because he works 18 hours a day in the business, the female does all of that.
So how do you balance that out?
And does that not count as working in the business, really? Because
let me tell you,
business is actually very personal.
Yeah,
and it's all a very connected circle.
And if you're a shareholder in the business, you're doing what you need to do to contribute to the business, whether that is...
And contributing to the family is contributing to the business. It is really, I think, part of it.
So let me tell you who the other two business people were.
We got to make sure they tie into these examples.
Okay.
Cool. We'll state what it is first, and then if you could explain, just because I know that people don't know the changes.
Absolutely, but here's the thing: each of these things can impact every business.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
So you're thinking of them as silos, but
they're very
circles.
broad.
If it's not going to work that way,
in a business, you could say a business has partners. The income sprinkling could be taking place. It could be sprinkled to a person who has a capital gains claim because they're selling it to a family member, and they save money in the business for another time. All of those things could be happening in every business.
Right, okay.
And to suggest, even for a minute, that it will only impact businesses who are over $150,000 threshold is absolutely incorrect. Here's another one. To suggest that an employee of a company making $50,000 is paying more tax than a business owner who's taking out $250, also absolutely incorrect. And in fact, from the tax practitioners that I've talked to, they've basically said, not only is that wrong, it's basically impossible, and if someone knows how to do it, tell them, because they'd like to share it with their clients. It's impossible. And here we have a prime minister and a minister of finance who are using that as an example. And I suggest to you to say that business people are using loopholes, which sounds like they're cheating.
Yeah, it's very divisive.
It's demonizing.
It's very unfortunate. Business people are using tax strategies that have been in place since the 60s and 70s that they've been told, this is how you do it. This is how you manage your business. You incorporate for many reasons, not just financial reasons. You incorporate for a variety of reasons. And here's how you manage your finances.
Am I correct in thinking that part of the issue or the concerns too is kind of like with the Chevrolet example in the family, is that people have been family planning based off of one set of rules that has been in place for 40, 50 years.
And now it's changing.
Then it's like, oh yeah, in 2 months, by the way, we're just going to...
Yeah.
And it's like
75-day consultation period.
Our plan is based off of 50 years of precedent, which was based off of 5 years of examining the situation before those rules were even come up with, right? And now, if you're, and I'm understanding a lot of the farmers in that boat where it's 5, 6, 7, 8 generations, right? And their entire family planning, it was set off of one set of rules, and now that all those variables are changed, their plans aren't going to be very good.
People make decisions based on what their accountants recommend to them.
Off knowns.
I mean, we're not, most business people aren't accountants. Although, by the way, John Clark is a CPA, so he knows. But people make decisions based on what their accountants advise them. Here's another example that I can give you, and this is real. Some people who own businesses choose to leave their money inside their business to save for their children's university education instead of putting into an RESP.
Yeah,
because then it's there for the rainy day too, right?
Yeah.
If they need it, they can use it.
Maneuver.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they leave the money inside the business. And here's an example where the government has said it will not hurt people who make less than a certain amount of money. If you leave your children's RESPs or the money set aside for the university in the business, when you take it out and it is claimed in their name because they are your children, they will pay at a higher tax rate. We're seeing examples of people who are basically going to lose 50% of their kids' university savings. That's wrong.
Yeah.
And are they not going to try to make a provision for that? Because that must be something that you and a lot
I don't know.
of folks have said.
They're going to tweak it.
Right.
So let me
I don't know.
Let
I
me
mean,
ask you a question,
they haven't
But they haven't
specifically said
defined
what the tweaks are.
A tweak is.
Yeah.
So
it seems like a broad
what
term.
is so obviously the Liberals don't want to be unpopular, right? That's not their goal. What is their purpose behind making all these changes?
Well,
And that is the golden question.
from what we understand, basically they want to have fair taxes, so that what they suggest that the wealthy business owners or the wealthy incorporated people.
Wealthy, anyway?
Well, there's a variety of ways that people define it, but they want everybody to pay fair taxes to make it more fair for the middle class and those hoping to join it. But what I say to you is that people that own small businesses, they are the middle class, and they employ the middle class.
Right.
And this is unfair to them.
Right.
And at the very best, this has been a huge overreach. If what they were trying to accomplish was to make it so that people didn't unfairly use these strategies, they've gone way beyond that.
Right.
And there are a whole lot of what we expect might be unintended consequences, but I don't know if they're unintended, but they are consequences. And I mean, we're seeing it from the physicians and the lawyers who are incorporated as well, but the small business people, and that's, the people that are members of the Chamber of Commerce, although we do have physicians because they're business people too, right?
Yeah.
We do have people in those types of corporations as well that are members of the Chamber, but the other thing that's happening is it's creating a feeling of people not wanting to be entrepreneurs. And we can't have that in this country. Entrepreneurs are the backbone of our economy.
Would
Business
you agree
people,
with the statement that this country was built on the backs of entrepreneurs?
absolutely. And
Every country, though.
and the spin and like the ability,
Except maybe Russia.
like
Fact. Total fact.
in the private sector, like 90% of employment is created by small and medium-sized enterprises. Like we drive the economy. We employ the people. We buy the homes. Like
So
business
what are the
owners
consequences if this goes through without people like yourself stopping it or battling it?
Well, first of all, we're not going to stop. We're going to keep at this and try to make a
without
change.
you guys stopping it, I know you're not going to stop.
I think it's going to have a huge impact on a large swath of the business community. And I also think I look at young people who are
That's what
coming out of
was
school, and I
wondering
think,
that question.
are they going to say, I don't want to own a business. I would just want to go get a job because I don't want to deal
Well,
with
they
this
might
stuff.
have to own a business because there's not going to be any jobs.
So just
We might force the process like that.
Yeah.
There was one thing that Bill said at his speech that I don't know if it's true, but he said that there's something like $26 billion that they're like looking to put back
Loosen up.
Yeah, like basically that's what it kind of sounded like. Like
What does that mean?
Well, I'll tell you my impression of what I got from the speech because obviously he was trying to convince me, and I went there open minded because I don't know. I know that all of my colleagues and friends are very upset, and I trust Krista immensely, and she's very upset. But I also know that it doesn't affect me because I put all my money in my business right now. That's just where I'm at right now.
Perfect.
So. One thing he said was he's like, there's this huge reservoir of cash that's sitting in businesses that they're looking to mobilize. And basically the way that I felt coming away from his conversation was some people that have made their money are keeping money in the business for, retirement savings plans, stuff like that. And I'm not saying this is a good or bad thing. I'm just saying this is what I walked away with. And he felt that that was unfair or not proper and that they had to, put that somewhere to use. Would that be a fair... That's kind of what I walked away with. Doesn't mean it's correct.
I don't think it's anybody else's business what you do with the profit that you make in your business. If you choose to save it, I mean, what he was talking about that, but he was also saying that people can take it out and put it in our RSPs. So he's not really talking about them taking it out and spinning it out into the economy.
Take it out to mobilize it.
Well, I think
Just say you don't have it sit in your bank.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Like, don't you tell people to save money?
Well, you tell it's not good for the economy for you to save money.
They want it to come back into the economy and keep turning over. And
is taxes going back into the economy?
Well, if you don't spend it, they can't.
This sounds like a lot of doublespeak.
It's complicated. I think the whole thing is complicated, and if that's what he's suggesting, I mean, I guess I can see why a government would think that would be a good thing. But I also think it's up to the individual as to, do you want to keep your money in retained earnings? Do you want to invest it inside your company?
Right.
Maybe you want to keep it in your company because you want to, you know what, be an angel investor and start to invest in other startups.
I think that's going to have a big effect on angels, actually. Like, I seriously wonder, they won't just have cash reserves sitting around if they're getting taxed on it, obviously.
So I think it's also going to have an impact on charitable donations. I think it's going to have an impact on people that are buying things that are sort of discretionary, like maybe beautiful artwork for their business. We want people to have that type of culture in their business, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
But, if it's all being paid into taxes.
Right.
All right, so let me ask you this. We've defined a little bit. We know some of the stuff that you guys have done. What's the next bound for you guys in terms of this one? This is probably one of the bigger advocacy things you guys have done. Would I be correct in that?
I would say since I've been with the Chamber, this time 6 years, and the last time 8 years, this has been the largest outcry from the business community that I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like it, because people feel strongly that it's not fair and that it will affect them. And the fear of the unknown as well.
Right.
Because every single day, accountants are coming up with new stories that are like, oh my goodness, we just realized this is going to happen. I had an accounting firm in Fredericton tell me that they believe it's going to impact 90% of their clients. 90%. That's huge. 90% of their small business clients will be impacted by this. And that is very much in contradiction to what the government is saying, which is, it's not going to affect, it's just the extremely wealthy and so on. It's very complicated.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's scary.
Yeah.
Because you know what? You run a lot of risk when you have a small business. There's already a lot of fear.
Right.
And this just simply adds to the unknown, I guess.
And the fear.
Yeah.
So what is the next bound, or is there anything big that we should be tracking in the next bound of this from the Chamber perspective?
Consultation closes on Monday, the period of consultation, the 75 days that took place beginning in the dead of summer on July 18th.
Classic fastball.
And I have to say,
when you don't have business mixers because no one's around.
it's the very first call I received on this was on July 18th, the day that the papers were released, and I started getting phone calls, emails, text messages, people dropping in the office saying, what are we going to do? And they really looked to the Chamber to take a lead, and we have done that.
Well, you are the unifying voice.
Yeah, we've done that in this community, and chambers across the country are doing this. We've provided workshops, we've provided, we've sent letters to our MP, we've sent communication to the new, not the new minister, I've lost her title, but Elaine Lockhart has been named the parliamentary secretary for small business and tourism. She's from New Brunswick, so we immediately sent a letter to her. We've reached out to our politicians. We've met with them. We really need to speak with a collective voice. So what's next is, I guess we'll just simply keep at it. We don't really know what...
It'll depend a little bit on what happens on Monday.
Yeah, we don't really know what the government is going to do next, so then we will deal with that.
So Monday's the last day?
Monday's the final day of submitting response, I guess. So the consultation period. So we did hear just this week that the Senate Finance Committee is going to be reviewing this issue and writing a paper on it. So they will probably do it'll probably be somewhat short term. I'm not sure how long they'll take, but it'll probably be a couple of month process, and they'll probably invite people to come speak to the Senate Finance Committee. And a senator from New Brunswick is going to be chairing that, Senator Percy Mockler.
Cool.
So that will be another opportunity for business and other groups to speak to the Senate committee. So that's a step we'll take. So I guess we're simply going to keep at it, and we'll be looking to the National Chamber as well for leadership as to, you know, what they suggest the next step of advocacy will be. But we're simply going to keep at it.
So
awesome.
We're going to keep talking about it and keep fighting the fight.
So just a couple quick questions before we wrap up. So the process that they would go through to approve this, basically it's an executive power. They can just, if they want to, they can approve it?
Well, I mean, they've drafted legislation, so they have to pass the legislation.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. But
And before we do leave, I want to tell you a couple more things.
No, it's not,
okay.
it's not a timer.
yeah,
If we're almost done.
No, it's just like...
I did want to share with you the other two business people that were on our panel.
Oh, please.
Because we never got to that.
Yeah, 100%.
Sorry to interrupt you.
There's totally time for that.
Well, we could just sit and talk all day.
If you want, wait till your birthday.
Talk to my birthday. Doug Williams was one of them. I think you guys both know Doug. He has the Ale House.
I love Doug.
Doug's a great
and I'm going to
guy.
mention something about him.
Ale House, also a chamber member.
Totally.
So Doug talked about how this would impact his business, but he also talked about how it would impact his clients. And are people going to have as much money to spend in his establishment? I mean, that's an issue too, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm also worried about disposable
Of course,
income.
yeah.
You know who buys? You know what the uniform for an entrepreneur is? Jeans and dangerous dress shirt. So I'm really hoping the
Sounds like a nice
entrepreneurs
uniform.
have a lot of money.
Yeah.
I actually have
Yeah.
a lot of his shirts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? That's an entrepreneur's uniform.
So the fifth person that was on our panel,
Imagine
I don't
those
know
kind
if
of
you know
line.
him. His name is Andrew Lovell.
The name sounds familiar. I'm not sure I know him personally.
He owns Riverview Orchard, also a chamber member. And in fact, if you haven't picked apples there, they're also the orchard that
Tommy's
has.
going this weekend.
They have the maze to go through as well, which is super fun, both for children or for adults. Last year, I got lost
Sounds
in
like
the
another
maze.
date just got put on my calendar.
It was, well, I haven't
It
been
was
through the maze
amazing.
this year. I was up apple picking the first week they were open,
Yeah.
and that was awesome. Last year I did get through the maze. I don't know if I'm going to get there this year, but that's really fun. Anyway,
You got a lot of work to do this year, so you can't go to the maze.
Kind of
but,
busy.
but you know, we'll go.
you go for me.
Yeah, we'll take some pictures.
So anyway, Andrew is not only the owner of that business, he is the chair of the New Brunswick Apple Growers Association. He sits on 2 federal horticultural type national boards.
Right.
And last year in 2016, he and his wife were chosen as the top young farmers of Canada.
He's a first-generation farmer, too, right?
Yeah.
He started a
So
farm.
they've only had their
have heard,
farm,
yeah.
I believe, since 2012.
Crazy.
And they're doing a great job. But he's talking about how these changes will impact him as well. And he's been...
We need to get all these people on the podcast.
Yeah, so anyway, 5 awesome business people. And
Yeah.
I will tell you that when they were doing their interviews, Perrin Beatty, who, as I said, is the CEO of the Honourable Perrin Beatty, CEO of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, he was very impressed with the caliber of business people and speakers that we have in our community. And another thing, I actually will give a shout out to yet another chamber member, Teed Saunders Doyle, great accounting firm in Fredericton, of which we have many, but they're a great one who has been on this issue from day one. Jeff Saunders sits on our board, and he was the very first call that I got saying, oh my goodness, what are we going to do about this? The chamber's got to speak up. And we got on it from literally the day it was launched. So in addition to doing public meetings with us and helping us to understand this issue, one of the things that Jeff and Matt Mahoney did, another of the tax specialists there, is that they kind of had a little workshop for my 5 panelists the day before they went to do this panel, just to make sure they were clear on the complicated details.
That's awesome.
Did any of them understand it, you know?
To that level, probably not. But
No.
those guys are subject matter
That's
experts.
it's also why we have accountants.
Totally.
We have a team. I think you guys are both of the team mentality.
Yeah.
You have a lawyer. You have an accountant. You have a banker.
Jeff Saunders is actually our accountant.
Oh,
so,
see, there you
yeah.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. And you have your Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But anyway, they did a great job of coaching our participants, although they were all somewhat well versed anyway. But you know what? They were going to be asked questions by national media. They wanted to make sure.
No,
yeah,
perfect.
so that was really helpful as well. And we were just so appreciative that business people were willing to stick their neck out and speak up. But that is how passionate people are about this issue, because it's going to have that much of an impact.
Yeah, it's going to affect them.
Yep.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah.
From what I hear.
Yes.
My other question was actually a little bit out of left field. Was how do you feel about some of the like Wayne Long in St. John, who's like kind of flip sides on this issue?
I think it takes a lot of guts, a lot of courage for a politician to publicly step out against their party.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, the jury is out as to what it will do to their political career, because will they lose because they stepped off the party line, or will they win another time because they stood up for their constituents? Certainly, it's an unusual thing to do.
It's an unenviable position.
Right.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Right.
Yeah, it's an unusual thing to do, and it's a very difficult choice to make. But I think Wayne Long and Wayne Easter and actually some other politicians just simply felt strongly enough about the concerns of their constituents that they decided to do that. And I certainly know that there are other MPs that are working diligently to take the message of their constituents back to Ottawa. They haven't said, you know, I believe or I agree or I am stepping aside from
everyone watching right now knows who you're talking about.
Well, it's very, you know, I mean, it's
very tough.
It's a very tough position to be in. However, I guess when you run for politics,
that is,
you know, like that's what you sign up for.
Well, who do you stick up for? Do you stick up for the people that you take care of, or you know, the people in your club?
And I think too, from a politician's perspective, and I'm not a politician, but I would be thinking also. I was elected to represent my constituents, but they also elected me based on the party that I participate in and the stands that I've taken. So the question is, do I, you know, do a survey on every issue and take the constituents' perspective each time, or do I think that they voted for me because they voted for my choices and my conscience? It's a tough one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Reason number 783 why I would not want to be a politician.
Yeah. We actually did all those reasons before this podcast. Yeah. So the other question I had is it uniform across Canada? And the reason I ask that is, whenever I think of Atlantic Canada, I think of it being a lot more, you know, small business oriented. Mm-hmm. Is the response as heavily felt in Central Canada and Western, or?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm probably not the right person to ask, because from what I'm so immersed in the whole Chamber of Commerce movement that I'm seeing chambers from coast to coast to coast talking about it and being passionate about it. So in my mind, it seems that there's been a problem or a concern or a huge challenge right across the country. But I have seen media reports where they're talking about how the response in Atlantic Canada seems to be stronger and greater.
Well, we're just very small business oriented.
Yeah.
Like we have a couple big companies.
Yeah. Well, and actually, that's a very good point. Like here in Fredericton, the majority of our members are under, like, certainly most of them are under 20, and I think something like 75% of our members have fewer than 10 employees. Yeah.
There's just a culture here. Right?
Yeah.
Cool.
But should I tell you about meeting Prince Harry yesterday?
Please
do.
Sure.
And we're wrapping up on that.
I think that's where we're at now.
Yeah, totally.
This is good.
I think the folks get it, and I will say on the thing, we'll put underneath on Facebook and on the website, you know, some of the social media handles for both Krista and the Fredericton Chamber.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because I bet you actually there's a lot of people who are business people in that who would probably actually want to follow the advocacy in that.
And join.
And
join the chamber.
Yeah, and join the chamber. And since we're sort of like halfway through what's going to be, you know, probably the most important thing in business in Canada in our lifetime, from a policy standpoint. So, you know, it's definitely an interesting thing to be followed.
At least that I can remember. You know what I mean? At a federal level.
Yeah, this guy's been here since lunch, right? So his lifetime, yeah. But yeah, it applies to
That's not an unfair statement.
Yeah. So Yeah, okay, so actually yesterday, I got to go to the Invictus Games, which is very cool. People aren't tracking that. It's international games for wounded warriors of Western Commonwealth countries and that, right? And it's in Toronto right now, and the energy...
so exciting.
It's like an Olympics, but with pure positivity, you know, and a lot of overcoming personal challenges. Rather so there's like none of like the ego and the you know, everything's Nikes and Adidas, and you know, it's not like that corporate blah blah. It's just like all heart, all raw emotion. And if you happen to be in the military, you're running into people all day who you haven't seen in years, but you served with. Like it was, I was only there for 24 hours. I wish I could have been there for the entire 10 days. But it's sort of like, you know, the minute I got there, we were like, Josh, you know, it's such an incredible reunion. But yeah, it was really cool. They have, there's a program that is very specifically tries to help military entrepreneurs, and they put on this 1-week boot camp. They call it.
Oh wow!
Right, and it's kind of like a military entrepreneurship basic training, and it's very cool. And I did it in August. It's called the Prince's Operations Entrepreneurship program. And so I did it in August, and they asked a few of us who've done this program and are running our businesses to come and meet Prince Harry.
That's cool.
Yeah. So.
What's he like?
Well, he's a bro. You know, he comes off as a bro. He's a bro in real life. But it was really cool because you know, I was with the last guy, and you know, he kind of goes and he's like, "Hey, Krista, like I'm Prince Harry. Like, hey, what do you think about this? Blah blah blah. Right? Hey, Phil, blah blah." And I'm like sort of the last man. And of course, most people have been like, you know, the games are amazing, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, I gotta go. Like, I obviously have to have a different tack. You know, you know, anyone who knows me for a minute, like one of my things is definitely doing something different than what everyone else is doing, right? But actually, he came right after me, and he was like, Mr. Dangerous. He's like, I've been looking forward to meeting you. I was like,
really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
How many people would say, like, Prince Harry's, like, totally tracking you, amazing. You know what I mean? And then it was really cool. So I, you know, shook his hand. I was like, oh, thanks. And blah, blah.
Did you sell him a shirt?
Obviously.
You know, I wouldn't say the line has been signed yet, but I did reach in my pocket. I had a pre-written one of our famous postcards,
Awesome.
handwritten, ready for him. You know, he appreciated that, and he was like, you know, I was telling him, I was like, we can make, you know, this is how we do it, and blah blah blah. We could design a shirt called the Prince Harry, you know, because everyone gets to have it, you know,
absolutely.
Not just custom in fit, but also design. And he was like, I'm so mesmerized by your shirt right now. I would just agree to anything. I was like, perfect, love it. And you know, we talked like 2-3 minutes, but it was very cool.
Something that you told me that I didn't know, and I don't know if you know, but Jeff told me that all of the great designers started off clothing royalty, and that's how they became so big. So look at this, modern day clothing royalty,
and that's why most designers like that, you know, that have been around for, you know, over 100 years are, you know, from aristocratic families, right? Because they had access to the royal family.
They were able to sell the business to the...
Right, yeah, because they started there, right? Unlike me, who started here.
Right, totally.
But
modern day thing.
Maybe that's the start. But you better believe I was looking and sizing him up. I was doing the Terminator thing. I'm like, shoulders look this, right? Looking for his agent afterward, or like, I guess you don't have an agent when you're royalty. But I'm like, okay, so if you mail him something, it's just to here.
Oh, just the palace?
Yeah. That's Buckingham, is it? I love it.
I think they call it Buckhouse.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
cool.
Whatever. So yeah, that was that. An absolutely incredible day. And I found out, this isn't totally official, but a little bit of a rumor, but
let's start the
credible rumor.
Let's start the rumor mill.
Yeah. The rumors start here at Freddy Podcast. So Emily and I's Dragon's Den episode is going to be a part of a military-themed episode.
Nice.
And they'll have it.
When?
They'll have it exactly. They'll have it timed in concert with Remembrance Day. So it'll be Thursday, November 9th.
That's awesome.
Right, because Remembrance Day is on a Saturday this year.
Right.
We do have official confirmation of this.
No, yeah, it's not official.
You heard it here.
Although I have called a lot of celebrities and politicians and already told them to fly down to Fredericton for November 9th. And I'm not sure we talked about this, but I thought I did. But we're having the viewing party at the King Street Ale House.
Oh, perfect.
Emily and I had that teed up with Doug before we even auditioned. I was like, whenever this thing airs, I may only be able to give you 2 weeks notice, but we've got sponsorship lined up.
Perfect.
We got all this stuff, and we're gonna have a videographer, photographer.
That's awesome.
One of those photo booths, weddings where it's like takes photos and puts some
we
like
had
makes some
one at the Canadian
GIFs
Chamber.
on it.
Know all about it.
Exactly. Well, we might have to talk then because you're gonna have to plan that. So we're gonna really make it a big thing, and we're gonna have a lot of people in Dangerous Gestures. Obviously, you guys are gonna be there.
We had a live artist painting. That would be a neat thing to do at your event.
Yeah.
We need to talk about all that.
Yeah.
One more reason I wish I had been there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're gonna make it a really obviously big event, and we'll talk about pounding that out to everyone at the chamber too, because I'd like as
Perfect.
many chamber members.
We have a communication vehicle called Members Around Town where we can put members' special events for free to promote them to all of our other members.
How do I get on that list, Krista?
Thanks for asking. Anyway, seriously, go to our website and www.frederictonchamber.ca. On the bottom of the website, there are a lot of really good buttons.
Yeah.
One says, publicize your chamber event. One says, I want to get on your email list. One says, how do I join? So those are all good things. So go right to our website, go on the front page, and pick one of
Just
those
start pressing
awesome buttons.
buttons.
Yeah.
Totally, but I mean, we'll put Krista's Twitter handle out there too. If you get totally stuck,
Yeah.
Krista, help me. I'm whatever, and you'll
Chamber
be,
of Commerce 101.
Yeah.
yeah, and you'll be all right. Well, I think with that, we'll wrap her up. Episode 3, Season 2, Freddy Beach Podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Krista.
This was fun.
This is
Thank you
all-
very much.
Krista Ross, CEO, Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you. My pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Awesome.